have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once. I am one of those melodramatic fools, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Am I just stoned?
Hey, welcome to the Jim Reith Show Unleashed podcast. This is episode number 28, and we had a very easy, although maybe not. I mean, there were so many yahoos of the week to pick from, although I did pick the brothers from New York State who were both arrested on serious charges because one had child pornography on his computer. Did you know what happened to the other one, Producer Bill?
I don't. I didn't see this.
Sexual abuse of a cow. Sexual abuse of a cow.
I didn't read a lot of news while I was gone.
No, and we want to talk about that because you were on vacation in Florida and you really enjoyed the place you were at, right?
It's I got into one of those, it's for lack of a better term, a timeshare kind of deal. It's a Club Wyndham. And when we signed up for it, it was like, all the bells and whistles, and they make it like it's the greatest thing. I can't figure out how to use it. That's the problem. And you sit down with these people, and they're like, "Oh, we'll sell you more."
Right.
We're at where we want to be. We don't go. 2 weeks is most of where we go. But they have a place right in the confines of Disney called Bonnet Creek. So it's right in the walls of Walt Disney World. You have to go into Walt Disney World to.
Never heard about that.
Yeah, this is so you have to. It's right in the, you get to the sign, the big Disney sign that's over the roadways you're going in. And then you're inside the walls of Disney. So it's called Bonnet Creek, and it's just like it's little 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom. They look like apartment kind of deal, but it's like paradise. It's well kept. This one is like the best.
Is that where you stayed?
It's where that's where we stayed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was Bonnet Creek. Yeah, that's the picture I showed you earlier.
Yeah,
that's
it was awesome.
Yeah, so they're like little apartments, and you walk out, and we were on the first floor, so we had you go out one door, and there's a pool right there, but you walk one more pool over, and there's a pool and a lazy river and a bar and a big screen, and there's all this stuff, and you can keep walking around the whole entire property, and there's 5 or 6 pools, 3 lazy rivers, 9 restaurants. My wife loves that stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
She loves the just chilling out.
Yes, I do too.
She's a big fan of coolers. She has her own collection of coolers.
Okay.
So I think last year, the year before, she's got a backpack igloo cooler.
Nice.
She took that out, and she was out there because when I got there, so we left Thursday night from here. We drive. So overnight. It's great.
You don't stop.
Nope. While one's driving, the other one's sleeping. So we got to we always have that mindset of we can stop if we want to. If
right.
we're tired, we can stop.
Sure.
We stopped at south of the border.
Buc-ee's.
That was the big on the way. I spent more money at Buc-ee's than I think anywhere else this trip. And we just kept going. So we were there. We were supposed to check into our resort Saturday. We got there Friday, so we just got a hotel room at another resort called the Rosen Inn off of International Drive. It was nice for what the price was. Mm-hmm. Then we go over there, and it's you don't have to leave. We went to Walmart. We got groceries for the week. Yes, my daughter and I did get a 3-day ticket for Walt Disney World, and we went to Epcot and Disney Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom. And man, Animal Kingdom I think is becoming my favorite. It's like a big zoo, but we went on and we did back in the day, you would as long as you had your park tickets, you could get fast passes.
Oh, okay.
First it was a machine you'd go up to.
I remember that, yeah.
First it was a machine you go up to and give it a little ticket, and it's just a reservation to go back, so you don't have to stay in line.
That's what I did.
And then it went to the app where you could get, when you bought your tickets, you get 3 for each day. 3, and then as you're going along, you keep as one drops off, you can add one.
Okay.
Well, now you got to pay for that privilege.
Oh.
And it's tiered pricing. Magic Kingdom's the most expensive. Epcot's the second. Hollywood Studios. So Animal Kingdom is the cheapest of the Genie, or whatever they're calling it, Lightning Lane now, and that was $29 a person. But we did a lot less looking around and a lot more riding at Animal Kingdom, because we could go right in and put the times in, and we went on all the rides. We saw that now Aria was in Lion King Jr. last year at Gillette,
right?
So she's all about that.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the Lion King show. They have like a 30-minute Lion King live actors singing show. We did that, and then we went on the rides. And then one of my favorite places to eat on property is inside Pandora, because Pandora is in Animal Kingdom from the Avatar movies.
Okay.
And they have it's a quick service place, so they have sit down places in quick service, and they're just like these bowls. They're like protein bowls.
Yeah,
they're so good, and they're spiced with. I think I got chimichurri for that. We were talking earlier. I went to Space 220, which is a restaurant at Epcot, and I tend to, if it's spicy, I tend to get it. So by Friday, when coming home, I had the worst heartburn ever from drinking lemonade and drinking and eating the spicy stuff. But it was overall. I mean, the parks are packed this time of year.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of there was
spring break. Right?
Yes, and there's a lot of new stuff since we've been.
Well, that's
previously
good.
Like Epcot's all different now. So then that was good. But I really believe even if we didn't get those tickets and just I would have been just fine sitting by the pool.
Yeah, I'd be like your wife.
Yeah.
I like to stay on property and hang out by the pool.
Yep.
Have some drinks. I love the fact that you stayed in a place where you could go buy your own food and make your own food.
Yep.
That saves a ton of money.
And there's there's 2 Walmarts within 10 minutes from you, and if you forget something, you go back. Or we normally, if it's all of us, we just do the delivery, the Walmart delivery, deliver it right to you. But we went, and the Walmart near Disney is a whole thing in itself.
It's got to be insane.
It's crazy because there's like in the middle of the store is like a mini Disney store too. They have all the Disney shirts and the stuffed animals and all the tchotchkes, and then it's your huge superstore, grocery store, and regular store. But yeah, and I like this. This is the first year, and I think 3 that I didn't abandon them early or come in late. Like last year, I flew in and out as they drove because I had gigs that I couldn't get rid of. So I like we were almost gone 10 days, which is perfect.
That's great. That's awesome. Now, while you were back, but you didn't go, Metallica set the record for the largest attendance at the Dome. And so I was thinking on the way over to the Inner Sanctum that who could beat that? And I think that probably Gaga and Swift.
Yeah, maybe Swift, definitely.
Swift, yeah, but maybe Gaga. Maybe.
I don't think anybody in the hard rock genre could.
No.
I think Metallica's got that locked up.
Yeah.
Now it would all have to be on how the stage is set up. That was one big thing with Metallica.
They were in the round
because they had a big round stage that went throughout. It was, I think, 3/4 of the floor or the field. It was the stage,
so you could get more
people.
Right.
So they had people inside the stage, outside the stage. When I saw them in Buffalo in 2018, it was just a regular end stage concert, long catwalk, and then a second stage where they came out. And the first 4 songs were from that small. And the same thing when I saw U2 at Buffalo. They did the same thing. The first 4 songs were at a small stage, and then the screen opened up, and they did the whole Joshua Tree album in its entirety for U2. But that attendance matters on what stage it is, because I think if there was a more room to put people for Pink, that would have sold more
that's
too.
True too. Yeah, that's
she was
true.
sold out.
Yeah. So I saw the original Joshua Tree tour at the Dome.
Yeah.
With my friend Greg, who we both know, and I saw the second biggest concert at the Dome was the Who, and I saw them in the 6th row at the Dome. So we've had some great concerts at this town. There's no question about it. Even with the amphitheater, they've had some great acts there too. But yeah, I agree with you. Pink would do it. I think it depends. Lady Gaga's not that hot right now. but Swift, obviously.
Yeah,
so I was
she'll-
thinking if they had Taylor Swift, they could still sell out if they made the cheapest ticket $100. Cheapest ticket,
Yeah.
$150.
And normally with her tickets, because everybody hears people paying on the secondary market, $1,000,
right.
I don't think her tickets are that expensive when it's like even a $400 or $500 ticket if you're sitting right up front.
Right.
But there is lower tickets up, and yes, in this kind of market, they can't be too crazy.
Right. They can't.
Because this isn't New York City, Boston, Dallas.
Yeah.
This is I don't even know if it's a secondary market anymore. Might be a tertiary market at this point.
Yeah, probably is. Yep. Although if the Dome would have more concerts,
That would help.
it would. Yeah, I mean, and they do tend to get really big acts. So I mean, why not shoot for it? But I think she requires more seating capacity anyway. Because I mean, my daughter saw them at the stadium where the Patriots play.
Yes.
So it's venues like that.
Which, and I know there's a lot of problems with parking and getting in and out. If you've ever been to a concert was it at Gillette Stadium?
No. She did, yes.
Yeah.
My daughter did.
That's the worst place to go to a concert to get in and out.
Really?
I stayed 40. We went and saw Garth there a couple years ago when he played. We stayed 45 minutes outside of Gillette Stadium, which was Worcester, I think. And it took us almost 5 hours to get to the show.
You got to be kidding me.
We almost missed. We walked in as the lights were coming down. And our plan was, let's go tailgate, have a few out. Nope.
Wow. 5 hours.
There was times where we would have to go to the bathroom, so we just walk, because they block off all the side roads in, what is that? What area of Massachusetts is that? Where the Gillette Stadium is. It's because it's not Boston. It's right outside.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's all big community area, so they block off all the streets. So it's literally one way in and one way out.
Boy.
So, but if you're not familiar with the area, and you're doing your GPS, it tells you to go down those streets.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you got all these people trying to go on these one, and you get stuck. So we'd walk off to go find a bathroom, and whoever was driving would still be in the same place as we.
Oh man.
Half an hour later.
5 hours is absurd.
Awful.
That's crazy. I would.
And then
never
you
do
walk out when you're leaving the stadium. It's just this massive sea of people. It's so not safe because it's like if something happens, you're going to get trampled, or you're not going to be able to get out of there. It's so weird being the Patriots being one of the top entertainment football programs that they have to go through that every Sunday because those are all sold out.
Bad location.
Yeah,
Really
and that's another thing too with Garth and shows. You're getting more people too because you have more seating on the floor and stuff like that. So I'm glad that we're finally back to doing huge shows here in Syracuse, and I know I've heard that there's going to be a lot more announced. Let's get them announced.
Good. I do like that. That's great. That's
you ain't going to no dome.
No, I ain't because I want to pay those. I don't want to pay those prices for. I've already seen all the great bands. So
true, and we were talking about that on vacation. There's really nobody.
I've seen them all. There's nobody.
Everybody. It doesn't matter who. I wanted to take Aria to see the girl that played Elphaba in Wicked. She's going to be at SPAC, and the cheapest ticket's $120.
No, I'm not doing it. Now, I would have loved to have seen Pink because I love Pink, especially her early stuff. I love her.
It was worth what I paid $250 a ticket.
See, I'm not doing that.
And that's because Brandy doesn't ask for a lot. And it was either her or Justin Timberlake, and I would have rather seen.
Yes, definitely.
Pink.
Oh, yeah, that's not right.
Yeah,
that's not even a discussion.
Those are her two favorites, and they were around the same time. And we went to the show here, and then I picked up tickets hours before second row.
Which was second row?
So we had second row. No, we had front row. I was sitting in the front row for Pink.
You were?
Yeah, I was sitting in the front. So she had a stage and then a catwalk and then like another little stage. So she played the whole thing. So she basically had one big stage and then a small stage, and we were in between the two stages.
Wow.
But we were. I mean,
that's crazy.
And the people behind us, the second row, the people behind us, they paid $1,100 a piece for those tickets.
Wow.
And these ones were just up on, SeatGeek or whatever they were. Game Time. I use the Game Time app a lot for stuff like that. But
Wow.
I have some great photos.
Yeah.
And it was good because it was the script.
Yeah.
Was the first band. Then Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, Sheryl Crow.
And that's
She does a lot of shows now where she's either the opener or the second, because we saw her at Chris Stapleton, and she was fantastic. I mean, she has all those hits, and she still sounds great. So
Stapleton's a guy I've seen him once, and that's good. It's good for me.
Yeah, I love him though.
Good. Same thing with I love James Taylor. Same thing though. You've seen him once, and you've kind of seen him.
Yeah, I never saw him live, but yeah, he's fabulous too. So I hope we get some more shows. So coming up on this show, we're focusing this time on the Syracuse Mayoral race. And we got Pat Hogan, who's in the Democratic primary. He's a common council right now. I've known him forever. And then we have Tom Babilon, who is the Republican candidate. Now, we were supposed to be joined by Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens, but they're having a news conference about something, which will be very interesting to see what it is. So she had to bow out at practically the last minute, which is fine. I mean, she's very busy, and I understand that. That's not a problem. So next show, we're going to effort Chalma Jock and Sharon Owens again. And then we're also aiming for some people that you know but want to know more about, like Ted and Amy and Gomez and Lisa. And again, I want to get Rick Gary from Sunny 102, because when I became the morning news co-anchor along with Dave White, Rick Gary was the morning guy at WSYR, and so we're efforting him.
Was
too.
that before or after Rick and Ron?
That was after. I grew up with Rick and Ron.
Yeah.
I can remember at my senior year in high school, they were like number one in the market.
That's Ron B. We're talking
yes,
about.
the late Ron B.
Both of us. Yeah, we both. He was
Super guy.
I used to love sitting after the when I would come in to do the show. They would always be Ron and Becky would be sitting in the
bullpen.
Yeah. No, they would sit out in the area where
Newsroom.
No, what's the when you open
the lobby?
The lobby area
okay.
with the secretary. They would just sit down and everyone would be talking. I used to love to hear the stories that Ron would tell in those.
And he had the greatest voice. Just the best radio voice ever. So those are some of the people that we're efforting. So here's a question for you. Back to music for a second. Which Van Halen do you like the best?
See, that's a loaded question, because as much as the Sammy Hagar years is the years that I grew up with, and I think he was the better singer of Van Halen, David Lee Roth is probably one of the best frontmen in rock and roll ever.
I disagree, but Sammy Hagar is the clear answer. Do you think that Steely Dan is yacht rock? Have you heard that little cut of the guy calling him to be? We're doing a documentary on yacht rock.
They didn't want to be involved.
That's putting it bluntly.
No, I think there's a place for Steely Dan, and it might be in their own category. It was more of it's more classy rock.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But
no, I don't. I wouldn't put them in the same category as.
So I heard "Reelin' in the Years" coming over to the Inner Sanctum, and that still has one of the best line ever in any music song, in history. You've been telling me you were a genius since you've been 17, and all the time I've known you, I still don't know what you mean. I love that.
That's one of the that's from Can't Buy a Thrill. That's
yes,
a great album.
Yes,
from top to bottom.
And I like the album Peg. I mean, Peg is one of my favorite songs. But I love Right Now, the song by Sammy Hagar's Van Halen. But they all had a fallout, right? I heard he had a wicked fallout with Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, so if you really want to read a really good rock and roll book, Sammy's is one of the best.
Really?
And they kind of all did. And I think just before Eddie died, they were right at that point where they were ready to start working together again, and it just didn't work out. And I think that's why. And because, Sammy and Michael Anthony, the bass player, he's been in Sammy's band since Sammy's been away from him. They were the friends. And now Toto, a guitar player from Toto, Steve Lukather. Yeah. He is going in the studio and finishing some Eddie Van Halen stuff with Alex.
Wow.
And that's another good book if you want to, is Alex Van Halen's last book, Brothers, but there's not a lot of Sammy in it. And I don't know if that means something or.
Well, I think because they had a huge falling out. Another great book, rock and roll book, is the book that Keith Richards wrote. Remarkable, and it really shows you what kind of a jerk that their lead singer is. It's just
Mick.
He's a terrible human being. If you read this book,
yeah, because you always see Richard. You always see him, and he always looks like he's the coolest guy ever.
Right,
and then
he's also. I mean, he's looked like he's 90 for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
But he's still alive, and he's still doing. He's an underrated guitar player, very underrated.
I went to the last time I saw the Stones was in 2021. I went with my friend Jeff, who'd never seen him before, so we had to go see him. And then we actually, the day after the Stones show, we were going to see a band called Clutch in Buffalo. They're like a groove metal kind of band. So they were in Pittsburgh. I think it was a Friday, Saturday. So we went to the Pittsburgh show Friday, drove back to the Clutch show, and then drove. Yeah,
you do this kind of thing a lot.
So yeah, but it's getting few and far between now. I'm getting as I feel as I get older. But he comes out. Mick Jagger just comes out, ball of fire. From this time the show starts till the time it ends, he doesn't stop.
I think he and Freddie are the two best frontmen ever. I really do. I mean,
Freddie Mercury. Yes,
yeah, he's a remarkable frontman. And in fact, when they first started, and this is in Keith Richards' book, when they first started, they cut demos for the record companies. They were really a blues band, almost a cover band in England. Yes. And they cut some demos and sent them to the record company. The guy said, man, musically they're incredible, but you got to get rid of that singer. And then the guy said, well, come with me and watch him. And he came. He said, we got to sign these guys right now.
And that was almost the kind of thing with Van Halen, too. They said that because of David Lee Roth, they needed a different guy, but he was, because of how he was out front, that's why.
Yeah, he was a great frontman, but he's nuts.
Crazy.
You ever seen interviews with him? He's nuts.
Did you see the bluegrass stuff he's done?
No. Oh, my God.
He does Van Halen versions, bluegrass versions of Van Halen songs. It's hilarious.
I saw him on Joe Rogan one time, and I think even Rogan knows he's nuts.
Oh, yeah. No, our friend Brandon Roth, that's his father is David Lee Roth's uncle.
Really?
Yeah, so he owned... His father owned the Cafe Wah down in New York City.
So he's David Lee Roth's cousin.
Yeah, yep.
I feel bad for the dude.
It's completely opposite of what you think of.
Yeah, he's like the sweetest guy ever. He is. He's just the greatest guy ever. All right, so
that's a guy we should have on here. He's got a lot of stories with that. Yeah, his military time. He's a good egg.
Yep, he is. I like him a lot. So we'll effort him too. I got a whole list of people for you to try to line up. So let's get started because we are going to focus on the race for Syracuse mayor. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's go. Joining me now on the podcast, very special guest because this guy and I go way back. And he's always been a friend to me. I've been a friend of the show. Whenever I've tried to do professionally, he's been great and continues to be so. And now he's running for mayor of Syracuse. He's Pat Hogan. How are you?
Good, Jim. How you doing? It's good to see you back.
And I'm great. And we're having fun, Bill and I, doing this. And hopefully we're educating some people and filling people in on what's going on.
It's so important.
Pat, you've been in and around city government for so long. And now, you're going for mayor. The first question that I have is why? Why do you want to be the mayor of Syracuse?
Because I love the city of Syracuse, and I always have. I've walked a lot of neighborhoods in the city, not only on my campaigns but in my life. And of course, I've lived in the city and more in a few different neighborhoods, even though I'm associated with just one. I love the city. I love the people with their candor, wit, and wisdom, and resilience that Syracusans have. And I think we have a rare opportunity. We have one of the great opportunities, probably the first one in 80 years. Micron, the great projects, Micron and Route 81. And basically, that's why I'm running, is to make sure that these benefits from these projects are spread evenly across all our neighborhoods.
So right now, the whole situation with the Syracuse Housing Authority and what needs to be done and Pioneer Homes and all of that, it's so important to the 81 project. And the 81 project's moving along right now. I mean, the construction is well underway. How do you fix that situation?
Well, I mean, the East Dams project, which will be basically turning that into a mixed neighborhood. The big thing is a lot of us counselors, of course, are concerned with is some of the folks are going to have to move from McKinley Manor and those other places. And the Syracuse Housing Authority assures us that HUD, that plan has been submitted to HUD, and they got a plan as far as like moving those folks into places, either through vouchers or actually moving them into other public housing like James Geddes or some places like that. So we want to make sure that happens before anything else can happen. And then there's the infrastructure. There's some infrastructure issues. We just went through a little thing I found out about Friday that some of the infrastructure monies, because once again, there's miscommunication or something happened between the SHA and City Hall, where some of that money might be in jeopardy. So we did some things we had done some things with the council to sort of prevent something from that. The corporation council, the head law person, the city wanted to make sure that I would go along with them doing the things they needed to do, which is mostly secret determination for the public infrastructure down there.
So besides the 81 project, which is extremely important to the city, obviously, what's the biggest issue facing the city right now that you feel?
Well, right now there's more than a few of them. We have a water infrastructure problem. We have a child poverty problem. We have sometimes a reliance on going to outside contractors that ended up with that debacle of the payroll modernization plan that didn't really modernize anything, didn't work. We have a problem. I think my feeling we have a problem with management. I think the next mayor, hopefully it'll be me. I'll be a hands-on there. You know me all my life, Jimmy, practically in public life. I'm a hands-on guy, and as far as like neighborhood issues go, and I think, the detached management style doesn't work in a city like ours. So, but the poverty issue really vexes me. And government can do three things with it in relation to that, to sort of put people on the right path. I think the first one, of course, is as far as the housing. I'm a housing advocate. I've been involved in a lot of different housing projects. Creating affordable housing is a big thing, but we need housing all across the board. Market rate, public housing, affordable housing. We're doing some of that. In fact, right within a stone's throw of my house, we'll be building 550 units of mostly affordable housing. The former Syracuse Developmental Center project.
Oh, right, but sure,
These projects depend on us making reliable, intelligent decisions on who we partner up with. We have some great organizations at this city that do a great job with Home Headquarters, Housing Visions, Empire Housing, reliable entities. But sometimes City Hall decides, well, let's try something new. We can't be in the position to try things new. We got 3,000 unhoused individuals every single night in the city of Syracuse, and we have to address this problem besides the kids that are unhoused. So I want to stay with what we're doing, just get more money to that. Education is a big thing in poverty. We got great schools. I helped build some of them when I was on the Joint School Construction Board, not like with a hammer or a nail or anything like that. I wasn't putting them up myself, but I was certainly arranging for the financing for them. We got to get the kids to go to school. 50% absenteeism rate. Now, my idea is to sort of go back to my past with the Parks Department and try community school projects. Where you have a community school, maybe each council district to start with, and keep these school buildings open at 10 o'clock at night. And then plug in, like we did with the Parks Department at one point, plug into the school district, find out the kids that go to our centers, go to maybe the after hours programs we'll have in the city schools, plug them into what kind of subjects they're weak in, there's tons of people who love volunteering in this community. Bring them in as volunteer tutors, have lifestyle tutors, and then provide a safe space for recreation. And the third thing is jobs, and we're going to be creating jobs. But all that has to work together and has to be pushed forward aggressively. And I'm a pretty aggressive guy when it comes to things like that.
Yeah,
and I think that's the way we can start to attack it, really.
Yeah, I think all those are extremely important. I don't think there's any question about that. Especially, I like the idea of like a lifestyle mentor for kids who are about to lose their way or have already lost their way a little bit. I think there's, in our school system itself, we don't teach kids self-reliance and the things that they need in the real world skills. And so if you can get mentors that they really appreciate and can respect, I think that goes a long way toward, ending some of this. Like you said, 50% absenteeism. That's incredible. That's insane. That's way too much, obviously.
And Jim, I love what you just said, because I was at Fowler last week. Fowler's sort of I love Fowler. It's just down the street from my house. And I don't know if you remember, we had a big battle about Fowler, the first joint school construction board. At that time, raw sewage was going into the cafeteria. And we won $53 million for Fowler, redid the school. I had great help from Mayor Driscoll and Van Robinson on that. But they have a naval cadet corps down there at Fowler, where you got 30, 35 kids that are taught more or less the discipline of being a cadet in the Naval Academy by this teacher who's a former Marine Corps. And these kids are, learn about discipline, learn about showing up on time, and they were into it. They all graduated, and all the parents were there and all that. And there's things that really gladden my heart what we're doing in the city schools. We've got that career academy going at Fowler too. But getting the kids in the schools, and the mentor project puts me totally at odds with City Hall on a lot of things, because they have a different type of mentor project that I'm not really in favor of. I'd like to grab somebody, like I know people who are tradesmen, who are men of color, women of color, and have them like mentor these kids, bring these kids into school. Hey, I've been a journeyman electrician for 10 years. This is how much I'm making. But you know what? You got to have a fundamental understanding of algebra to be an electrician. That type of stuff, to show them what that means as far as their education goes.
I think right now the trades are where it's at. I mean, I really believe that we have a generation of tradesmen who are ready to retire or already have retired, and we're going to be shorthanded with all that stuff. But the trades are where to go right now. The pay is great. You're always going to have work. If you're not college bound, no question the trades are where to go, or the military. But the trades are really where to go.
A lot of the trades guys are aging out. I got a friend of mine who is actually training electricians. For instance, have this great pre-apprentice program, and they take kids in, young men, young women who want to contemplate a trades path. And he says they got people calling from all over the country besides our local people, because they know what's going to happen. And he's got class after class he's training, because we're needing about likely 1,000 electricians. Jim, when Micron gets built, they're going to need probably 150 electricians on campus every single day just to make that thing work.
Absolutely.
So I'm very excited about what the opportunities, but we're not ready as a city yet. We are not ready because we got fundamentally problems with public safety, got fundamental problems with our infrastructure, and we got a fundamental problem with City Hall that doesn't really deal with the neighborhoods like they should.
It's interesting to me that you've seen city government from all different sides. I mean, now you're a common councilor, and what's the difference between, well, let me ask you this. How much does politics play a role in what happens in the city?
Gee, that's a great question, Jim. It does. There's politics of getting elected, and then there's politics of knowing people and knowing their interests and working together with people. I think I'm pretty good. I've been elected 7 times, but I mean, I'm pretty good with all the years growing up in diverse neighborhood I grew up in, coaching, all that has given me the ability to work with people towards a common goal. Sometimes I'll disagree with somebody on one issue, but I'll agree with them on 6 other issues. I mean, I'm the chair of the County Industrial Development Authority. Ryan McMahon and I work together on the Common Council. I'm the only Democrat on that committee, in that agency. But I found even with Republican county legislators, there's a great desire to get things done in this community. And a lot of times bureaucracy stalls you up, or bad politics stalls you up, where you just, hold a grudge forever and go against something just because you hold a grudge.
Yeah,
I mean, Jim,
absolutely.
and I'm not like that. I'm sort of like my favorite politician of all time was one of the greatest governor the state ever had, Alfred Emanuel Smith, and he got along with everybody, never held a grudge, and got a lot of at that time very progressive things done. I mean, got child labor abolished in New York State. So, there are things you can do as a government leader. You have to be cognizant that folks are in it for us. Folks are in it for usually for the betterment of their community.
So before I let you go, politics and running for office is sometimes all about money. How's your fundraising ability?
My fundraising, and none of us like having to call people up and ask them to contribute to a campaign, but I've been heartened by my support. I am fairly well financed. I don't think I'll be as well financed as one of my opponents, but I'll have enough to get things out there and let people know about me. And after almost 50 years in government, I think a lot of people I think know me anyways.
Yeah, I would say so. No question about it.
And they know my stance. Jim, because of you, believe me, the Syracuse community misses a show like yours big time, because I run into a lot of folks that don't know the issues sometimes because they're all siloed off into different ways of getting the news. But I think people sort of know where I stand on a lot of issues.
Yeah, I would think so. All right, Pat, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have you on again, of course. I know the primary's coming up. Good luck with that. And then we'll talk to you after that.
Jim, it was great talking to you.
Hey, it's Jim. If you'd like to be part of this podcast as an advertiser, get a hold of us at jimreithunleashed@gmail.com, and we have rates to match your budget. Trust me. jimreithunleashed@gmail.com. Joining us now on the podcast, we're doing a podcast today that's focused on the race for the mayor of the city of Syracuse. And the Republicans have a candidate. He's Tom Babilon, and he's our guest today. How are you, Tom?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today, Jim.
Sure. So, the way that the enrollment is, Republicans are way in the minority. Why have you decided to do this?
Well, first, you're absolutely correct. I think we've got 13% of the voter enrollment now. But this year is going to be an incredible race because we've got potentially 3 or 4 Democratic candidates that are going to be on the ballot in November. So close to evening the odds. If we can get a strong Republican turnout, which is difficult in Syracuse, I think we got a great shot.
All right. And yet I do agree with that because it does fracture the vote on the other side for sure. So in your opinion, then, what would be the top few issues that need to be addressed in the city?
Well, we've got a serious budget issue. The previous administration has brought our budget, I think, from 291 million up to 342 million, something like that. And there's still a 27 or $25 million deficit this year. That's huge. We really need to address the spending. I think some of the common councilors have expressed, issues with that as well. That's huge. Public safety is also huge. Economic development, of course, is huge. We've got the whole, there's all kinds of issues. We got the I-81, the dealing with the properties in there. I mean, I could talk to any one of these issues at length, but there's a lot of issues dealing with the city.
Yeah, I think the housing issue is got to be right up there, top 3. We definitely need more housing stock of all costs, but mostly we need more low-income housing. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I agree with that 100%. Housing is pretty much out of control. I was actually pretty happy to see that I think Sharon Owens was talking about maybe bringing some manufactured housing into the city, which would require some zoning changes. I say we need to go a lot further than that. I mean, we need micro apartments, tiny houses, shared living spaces. There's all kinds of kind of unconventional solutions to our problem that will make it cheaper and easier for people to live in the city.
You know, I had Pat Hogan on earlier, and I want to ask you the same question I asked him about fundraising. Is it more difficult for you to raise money, being that, you know, on the one hand, you're the only Republican, on the other hand, you're the only Republican, and you're going against these Democrats?
Yeah, I kind of got off late this year, so we haven't, believe it or not, we even have not even had a fundraiser yet. We don't limited amount of fundraising online, and yes, it is difficult, and I really need people. It's hard for people to, especially even Republicans, to say, oh, hey, we got a chance this year. They're so disheartened every year with low turnout and maybe some candidates that aren't the most qualified. So it's very difficult to, we got to get these Republicans energized and say, hey, listen, we need to spread this message. We need to get everybody out there. And with the Democrats, even in independents, with things going on with Trump right now, it's hard to get as a Republican, it's hard to get your message out there and say, hey, listen, I'm not Donald Trump, but I do got a lot of great ideas for the city that I want you to hear, So yeah, it is difficult to do fundraising.
And that
And I
was
hate
the
asking
next.
people for, and I hate asking people for money. So, that's the
Yeah,
other problem.
I know.
The worst thing I hate about it.
That was one of the reasons that I never even considered politics. It's just asking people for money is just, it's brutal. It really is. It's terrible. But that was the next question. With Trump and with the Republican Congress in such disfavor among a lot of people, this is not really a good time for a Republican to run for office. But like the thing I always say is, whatever goes on nationally goes on nationally. It's local politicians and local elected officials that really affect you the most personally.
I agree with you 100%. And again, I want to put it out there. I'm not Donald Trump, but I'm also not a person that's going to say every single thing that Donald Trump does is terrible. And I'm not a person that's going to say everything that he does is great. I'm like this, I like policy. If a policy is good, I will say, yes, I think that's a good thing. If a policy is bad, I'll say that's a terrible thing. But, there's some people that will argue with me all day long about, something that may be good for the country just because Donald Trump is doing it. If someone else were proposing it, they think it was wonderful. So yeah, that is this, Trump derangement syndrome, as they call it. Everything Donald Trump does is horrible, and he's a Republican. It is definitely going to be a hard thing to combat. But I think how you do that is you just get your message out there. You let people know these are the ideas that I have for Syracuse, which have nothing to do with Donald Trump, and which I think will actually help make the city of Syracuse a better place to live in.
What's your background, people, and Tom, for people who don't know it?
Well, so I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law for 22 years now. I was a assistant corporation counsel for the city of Syracuse for 10 years. I had various roles there. I was the attorney for neighborhood business development and economic development. I was the attorney for labor and employment, and I also was the attorney that ran the housing division, which was all the codes violations and things like that. So I did that for about 10 years. So I have a lot of sort of inside information, and a lot of the stuff that I see going on right now is the same exact kind of thing that I saw going on when I was there. It doesn't really change. And that is part of the problem. Is I think you need somebody that's going to get in there and sort of change what goes on in City Hall if you really want to have some kind of effect.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because how do we stop foreign landlords from buying up low-income properties, renting them out, and then washing their hands of them? I know that's a huge problem. They don't fix things up. They don't care about the tenants. They just want the money.
Yeah, it's an incredibly difficult thing to handle. I did this for 2 years when I ran the housing division, because exactly you got to find out who they are, and then they rent it out to people with substandard conditions. And I think the biggest issue, this is always my issue as at the city, I'm like, we need to educate tenants better, and Walsh has done this a little bit to some extent with regards to, putting up on the website, history of landlords and properties, which tenants can search, but who really has the time or access to do that? You're going to get online, especially the people that are going to be renting from people that might be slumlords. It's very unlikely that they're going to be going online and researching the property beforehand. I think that, when you find out new tenants are coming in, you go in there and you say, hey, listen, hand them a book of rights. Here's what your rights are. Here's what you're entitled to. in a rental property in the city of Syracuse. And some people don't understand that, especially, we do have some high immigrant populations. Some people don't understand, oh, well, the water's not running, or electricity's not working, or the sewer's backed up. They don't understand that, maybe that's stuff that you're entitled to in the city. So I think tenant education is key. And then, you got to get codes enforcement down there and working on these properties. And that's another problem is, codes enforcement, since I've been there and even now, is they have a difficulty with focus. So, I mean, they're spread out all over the place. You've got, on one hand, you got a building that's fallen to the ground, and then next door you got a retiree with peeling paint, and the retiree with peeling paint is getting 6-7 notices, and he's the one that's responding because he lives there, and he's the one that's terrified, and I just had this, a person approached me this a few weeks ago. They don't give these people resources. They'll say, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. And I go there and I say, well, hey, listen, did you know you're in this area and there's some low interest loans that are available through home headquarters, and here's the information. They don't do that. That's one of the things they need to do. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult. We got to shut down the properties that are substandard. We've got to notify the tenants of what kind of conditions that they're entitled to, and you just got to do it piece by piece, and you got to focus codes on the priorities, which are these substandard housing.
Yeah, and it only takes 1 or 2 houses in a neighborhood to really bring the entire neighborhood down, and and then it gets a reputation, and then no one wants to go there, and then more houses fall in disrepair. It's just a whole thing.
Yeah.
Tom, how do you get your message out to the people that you want to hear it?
Yeah, well, it's difficult. It takes money. That's one thing we're trying to do now, is trying to do some fundraising. I started off late. I really wasn't planning on running for mayor at all this year. And then I had some people from the party approach me and say, hey, listen, would you think about doing this? You did it back in 2021 and you've got the qualifications. And I said, okay, well, let me think about it. And I decided to do it. But what that did is it set me back about 3 months from where I should have been.
Right.
I should have been doing all the fundraising and setting all this up. Instead, we were out petitioning and knocking on doors, and now we're really to the point where we've got to raise money. So one, we've got to raise money and do the mailers, do the knocking on the doors, doing radio ads if we can. Right now I'm doing a lot of stuff on Facebook, which I've always done. We're getting our website up. It's up, but it's not 100%. So a lot of we're going to do some direct mailing, and I'm actually going to be out next week knocking on doors again with another candidate that's running for county ledge.
So, I mean, at least you've done it before, so you know the
Yeah.
drill, and that gives you a little bit of an advantage. Also, the Democrats are having a primary, which is good for you, certainly, because although that's kind of a double-edged sword, too, because they get a lot of exposure for the primary, and they're able to get their word out that way.
That's 100% true. I mean, I ran a primary in 2021, and let me tell you, the press was knocking on my door every day. They wanted to know what was going on. And now I can't even get into the debate. They're doing a Democrat debate. I said, hey, listen, guys, there's only 3 people. Why don't you let me in? No, this is just for Democrats. We're not going to let you in. I said, well, you let me in last time. You let me in last time. So it's difficult. I get the blurb at the end of the article that says Tom Babilon's also running as a Republican.
It's true.
All this stuff. This guy's doing this, and this, and by the way, you're going to face Tom Babilon in November.
That's true. That's funny, but I'm laughing, but it is true. It's exactly true. Because I was thinking about that today before we did the interview. That you're kind of like a footnote in every article. That'll change as we get closer, certainly. But I can feel your pain on that one. Well, this is a good first start for us and for our relationship. So as we get closer and as things progress, we'll definitely have you on again and talk about things that are important and as the issues come up. And once we get a Democrat candidate, at least one, although like you said, some of them are going to be on minor line ballots anyway. So that's an interesting thing as well. But as we move along, we'll definitely talk again. So I appreciate your time today.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nick. Great talking again.
So there's half the field, basically, for the race for Syracuse mayor. There's a Democrat primary coming up, and we're efforting Chalmajock and Sharon Owens. We'll get both of them, I'm sure.
The only thing I can say is Tom Babilon has gotten me out of a speeding ticket. So
There you go. I liked him. I did. I don't think he has a chance, but I did like him. Now, the only reason he would have a chance, although everybody said that about Roy Bernardi too, and he won. But the reason he would have a chance is because the race could be very fractured. If
Yeah, I didn't
Chalmachuk
realize
gets
that.
on a line, then you'll have 3 Democrats, and that would help him. So I'll just have to wait and see. Are you watching anything good? Handmaid's Tale.
I didn't realize you were into that.
Oh yeah, I loved it. We love it.
You would put it on
Love it.
Facebook because that's Brandy's thing. She's
Yeah.
been waiting for that.
Love it.
We're
We're not far from it. Let me tell you.
I just watched. I'm a big Law and Order.
Yeah.
Is my thing, and they just had this past weekend. I just got done watching it. 2-parter that started on regular Law and Order and moved over to SVU. It was one of the better episodes in a while.
The guy that played Elliot,
Yeah.
he's been in a bunch of stuff.
Well, he's got his own Law and Order now.
He
Law
does.
and Order, Organized Crime.
Oh,
Yep.
good. I love him. He's a great actor, but he had a major part in Handmaid's Tale.
He was in Oz too, wasn't he?
Yes, he was in a bunch of stuff. So I like him too.
The stuff that if I'm home and she's got it on, I'll watch it. I don't mind of the things that she watches.
Yeah.
The Handmaid's Tale is because I like the lead with the lead girl there.
Yeah. Don't ask me her name.
I don't know her
I,
name.
I couldn't remember Mick Jagger's name, so I'm forgetting all kinds.
I
of
watched
things, man.
a documentary. It's WrestleMania time.
Yes.
So this past
Oh,
weekend
is it?
was
Okay.
this past weekend was WrestleMania.
It was
2 nights now. 120,000 people over 2 nights were at the Allegiant Stadium in
Holy
Las Vegas.
cow.
Yeah, it's and the cheapest ticket was $400 or something. For one night, one seat for one night was $400.
That's okay. Well, whatever.
But
people do what they do.
they top load Peacock is the WWE network, and they top load it with stuff during WrestleMania. They just had a about 2-hour documentary. WrestleMania 9 is the catalyst for how you see WrestleMania today with all the sets, the big screens, the big sets. Because at WrestleMania 9, it was outside at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
That's right.
The outdoor
I remember
boxing
that.
arena.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they had to dress it up some way, so they dressed it up like a Roman Coliseum. So it was the largest toga party. And for the first time ever, because back in those days, having cameras backstage at wrestling events it was like a no-no.
Right.
The guys, you can even. So they had the cameras, and they were saying they were filming this stuff for a future, thing. But this is 1993,
Right.
and these guys, you can see them like, why is there a camera back here? You can hear them say that, and they've put that together and kind of told the story of what happened that day and why it's important to WrestleMania now with
Yeah,
all the
that's
sets and it was cool. Even if you weren't into it, and then they get into they've been burying Hulk Hogan lately, really like on some stuff. And this is the WrestleMania 9. It was just after he left to do movies, and then he came back. And it was supposed to be Hogan and Beefcake versus the Money Inc., which was IRS and the $1 Million Man,
Right.
Ted DiBiase. So that was the match. And they were supposed to be going to this new era of the younger guys, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Bret Hart, Razor Ramon. Those were the guys starting to get ushered in, and Bret Hart was the champion, and Yokozuna. So Yokozuna had won the Royal Rumble that year, and that was the first year that the winner of the Royal Rumble went on to face the champion at WrestleMania, which is now the formula for WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
Royal Rumbles in January, this big match. The person that wins that big match goes on to face the champion at WrestleMania. So it's Yokozuna versus Bret Hart. Well, now Hogan's coming back, and Hogan's, that ego that Hulk Hogan has. Now he wants to be champion. He just doesn't want to come in. So what had happened was Yokozuna beat Bret Hart in a false kind of way. They threw powder in Bret Hart's face, and then Hogan comes out, gets challenged right there, and wins the title the same night. Big hoopla.
That's funny.
And that was the whole story of how everything went through.
So who won it this year?
So last night was the big. So they had 2 nights. There was a 3-way match Saturday night, which was CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. No championships. It was a big feud been going on the last few years. And Seth Rollins won that when Paul Heyman turned on Roman Reigns. And
He was the
Seth-
Undertaker's manager, right?
No, that's Paul Bearer. Paul Heyman
okay.
was the guy that was the owner of ECW.
Yeah, yeah.
He was known as Paulie Dangerously in WCW back
okay.
in the 80s. So that was that whole big thing. And then last night was the big John Cena's return. Bad John Cena, because he's a bad character now, against Cody Rhodes, who's the champion, and John Cena is now the 17-time WWE. And that I think that's the whole storyline, and we'll find out tonight.
How long will he stay around?
I think this is his last year. He's doing like a farewell tour. He's calling
I can
it.
see that. I mean, he's a really he's a good actor,
dude. The stuff he's done with the like Bumblebee and all that stuff is great.
He's funny too.
Hilarious.
He can be really funny. So I mean, him and The Rock are probably the two best actors that come out of wrestling, and they're like really.
And that was the whole thing.
Huge.
Like The Rock was involved in that whole thing, and he wasn't there last night. Stone Cold was there. He did a run-in with the ATV and ran into the side thing. Some girl fell over. It was like beer everywhere.
I always liked
and
him.
I don't watch it as faithfully as I used to.
I used to be way into it.
Yeah, I used to. I listen to a podcast now, which is Jim Cornette. Remember Jim Cornette?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I kind of watch wrestling through him because he reviews everything. So I know what's going on, but I don't watch it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun this year, and maybe not being so into it, I enjoyed it more because
probably.
there's nothing that's whatever. This thing's going on and that thing's going on, but it's a lot of money.
It started down south, and I started watching it when it was down south.
Yep.
Ric Flair, the Dragon, was Ultimate Warrior down south? I can't remember.
No, it was later.
Yeah, so
Sting.
Now it's a multi-billion-dollar business,
and it all starts like on Thursday night. There's something that goes on every night. They had a separate normally the last few years SmackDown gets done. And they had the Hall of Fame ceremony right at the SmackDown. But this year they had it at a theater in one of the casinos. We're at like 1 a.m. our time.
Oh, no kidding.
After everything's going on.
They should keep WrestleMania in Vegas permanently. It's the place for it.
And that's where the UFC has they have a building, the UFC, where they tape stuff. And I think because that's now they're all owned by one company.
Yeah,
TKO.
they are, right? Yeah.
And so Triple H was inducted this year. He was the big headliner. And it got through the whole. He went on for 90 minutes in his speech. It was a great speech. And then like the last part, he goes, "I have to recognize the elephant in the room." And he talks about Vince because he took over for Vince.
He did.
Triple H is now the Vince of.
Now, did he really marry his daughter?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's got three. I think 16 is the youngest.
No
they
kidding.
have now. Yeah. But he's all set. He ain't got to worry about anything ever again.
No, and that was actually a really good storyline, too, when he was in there. All right, so that'll do it for this edition. I hope you had fun, like we always do. That's the reason we do it. Although, we're also aiming to educate you on local issues, especially. I mean, we try to hyper-focus locally, and I hope that you learned something from it. If not, well, at least you have some fun.
That's right.
Because we try to have some fun.
And if you're not having fun, who cares?
Take care of yourselves, okay? And God willing, we're all back at it next time on the Jim Reith Show Unleashed podcast.